In boudoir winter.
Enter.
Yeah, we can roll the tongue say inter, but
Enter.
we sound like a drac from that movie Enemy Mine.
I know what you're talking about.
This inter, this and it was played by Louis Gossett.
Yeah, remember he was pregnant?
He was pregnant.
Yeah.
He was a reptilian.
Yeah, he was pregnant, remember?
Can't get away from talking about reptilians these days. And they had a book, the Book of Shizma, and they read the Book of Shizma. It's go, they go.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah. It's a movie from the 80s. It was
It's from the
Dr.
80s.
Dennis Quaid, I believe. It was good.
Yeah.
Like I said, it was when he was pregnant. He's like, "You're pregnant?"
He's like, He's like, don't look at me. I didn't do nothing. What do you have? I forgot the name of their son. Yeah, I mean his son. What's his son?
I would watch that movie again. That's a great thing to bring up.
You know,
I just remember it like it was a movie I liked.
It's called Enemy Mine.
Yeah, Dennis Quaid and Louis Gossett Jr.
The 80s had some pretty interesting sci-fi movies.
They Live. I was
They Live,
trying to
yeah.
get Knocky to watch They Live. Remember Roddy
with
Piper?
Roddy Piper?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because remember once he found out the signs?
Yeah.
With the, like all
Yeah.
the stuff? Man, it's a good movie to watch.
Roddy. Who was the brother that played in Roddy Piper had to kick his ass because he didn't want to put the glasses on to see that they were surrounded by aliens?
Yeah, but then they ended up being cool. Because remember?
Yeah.
Because that's one of my favorite lines. I came here to do two things. Chew bubblegum and, and I'm all out of bubblegum.
Right. You know?
I'll be using that line.
I want to talk a little bit about something too. You know, the Dracs represent. You know, I noticed how the Dracs kind of look like blacks. The Draco. Yeah. I think those are supposed to represent the Dracos. I think about it. But in a movie, yeah, I noticed a lot of times. Yeah, for instance, the last group of Klingons in the new Star Trek. If you look at them, they look like they were some straight up black folks.
Yeah, they always look like.
You know what I mean?
Talk about worse people?
Yeah.
They always look
In the
like
new
that.
Star Trek, they made them look even more, have more like deep, like Africoid features.
I haven't watched it in a while.
Yeah, this is the new one that just came out.
Not the one with John Luke Picard.
No, this is like the new. It's like a reboot. Hold on a second.
Oh.
So it's like the reboot, but they have Captain Kirk and Spock.
What?
And all of them are back. Yeah.
As a TV series?
Now it's the new movies. There's like
Oh.
I think 3 new Star Trek movies, and they were reboots.
Oh, okay. I did see those. Okay.
And they brought Khan back, like
Yeah.
Wrath of Khan, but it was played by that dude that played as Doctor Strange.
Yeah, I remember that.
So the thing about it is, what is blackness? Come from a black that's blacker than black. I'm black, y'all. That's a fact, y'all. I'm bliggity black, the black, y'all. Remember that?
Yeah.
See before.
Yeah. Now, Mark sisters and brothers say that you need to stay away from using that terminology on yourself because it deals with you being an object as opposed to being a living person, a natural person, right? But but we don't use it for political or so much identifying ourselves as a nationality. It's just descriptor. It's just description. It's basically descriptory. Is that how you say that? Describing ourselves, right?
Description.
So it's basically describing ourselves. When we talk about, even though we're not, a lot of us don't have dark black skin. Some of us are. We go from all different spectrums of the rainbow when it comes to, our skin tones as black people. And you'll see that same thing in Kemet. So therefore they be looking at like depictions of Cometians from all different skin tones. Well, that's how we look. You know what I mean? But of course we let politics and everything else play in on it. Even though Dr. Sheikh Anta Diop, the ancestor Sheikh Anta Diop had did the carbon 14 tests on those mummies and saw that they had melanin. Or he did the carbon test on those mummies and saw they had melanin. in their skin. And proved that those mummies had rich composites of melanin, which means they weren't white people.
Right.
What does it mean to be black? See, we utilized that term as being black being beautiful back in the 60s and 70s. You see what I mean? Because a lot of us thought that our Africoid features were ugly. I'm going to tell you something. That idea of black folks identifying with being Native Americans, that's not new either. Maybe the possibility that there are some brothers and sisters who come from that stock. That's amongst us. But that does not mean that there was not a slave trade.
No.
That does not mean that those 40 castles on the coast of Africa were somehow there for decoration. Now, come on, don't be silly. Okay? But when we talk about black on a philosophical level, we were talking about and identifying it with melanin and carbon. And that carbon, we're all carbon-based beings. And the atom has 6 electrons, 6 protons, and 6 neutrons. 666. But that's not necessarily the mark of the beast. But we're all carbon-based beings. When you get into occult philosophy, that's the number of the sun. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So let's say you do a magic seal. You're going to write numbers, right, that add up to 6 in a square. 6 going vertical, 6 diagonal. And you're going to make 3 squares, right? Let's say you have like 222, right? And, 132, and so forth. And just do variations of ones, and they add up to 6 by the columns and rows. Then you have 666, and that's the sun square. That's the square of the sun, or one of the suns, one of the seals. When you're into magic, when you get into like the magical seals, it's dealing with numerology. We'll get into that one of these days. But the bottom line is that it's dealing with the numbers. But if you go 3 times 6, what do you have? 18.
18.
1 plus 8 is 9. Hence completion of a cycle. A completion. It goes from 1 to 9, then back to 1 again in the form of 10. Now we are called solar people. The Yorubas call themselves, right? The children of the sun. The children of the sun, Homo Orum. And the fact of the matter is that we are children of the sun. So we're melanated beings. We represent the people that come from, those areas closest to the equator and everything else. But we also are the original people of the planet, original people of the universe. And some will say that blackness is not just a color, but a state of mind, because it goes back into the void from which all things arise from. And the Kemetic word, we call that the Kam-Ur, the great blackness. But wait a minute. Osiris, or Osir, what the Greeks call Osiris, right, is also known as Osir Neferkam, which stands for Asar of the beautiful blackness, or Asar of perfect blackness. He also represented the soot that builds up on the Nile that will fertilize the soil and eventually make it hospitable for growing food. Hence, Kemet is called the Black Land. And you look at the word Kemet, how it's spelled with a piece of charcoal and an owl and a bread loaf making sound Kemet. The charcoal, the piece of charcoal makes the K sound. And the M is the owl, makes the sound. And the loaf of bread, which is shaped kind of like a little kind of like a dome or something, makes the T sound. So it's called Kemet. It's the Black Land, Kemet, but it's also where the blacks arose from the land, the original people of the planet. So it's not so much that we denigrate other people to understand who we are, but understand that you represent the original state of consciousness with absolute potential to be anything. The richness of the soil. You go to India, there's an aspect of Krishna. Krishna means the black one. And one of the names for Krishna is Saimasundra, which means the black and beautiful one. You see? Now why is this important? Via, a lot of us continue to look at our own skin color and pigmentation and African features as something other than beautiful. When in fact, that's what we are. There's pictures and depictions of the Buddha having those type of features as well. However, even though they say that everyone or all people came from Africa, for some reason when we talk about our ancestors being in Kemet, all of a sudden a bunch of people want to get offended. But you see, the problem is that they're so used to seeing us on the bottom and being shown and portrayed on the bottom that we do stand up, they make fun of us, they mock us. Malcolm X asked a serious question. Who taught you to hate yourself?
Oh, shit.
You got to get back into loving yourself. Get back into every time you move that around, it just makes noise. I hear it over here. Okay, no problem. It just no problem. Malcolm X said, "Who taught you to hate yourself? You started hating yourself. We started hating us. We started hating each other because if you hate yourself, you go project that hate onto those that look like you." And that's what we've been doing. That's why we don't get along. Because we have so much inflicted self-hate or self-inflicted hate because of what we keep on reading about ourselves and looking at ourselves in the movies. They always show us doing something weird, like, they show the men screaming all the time and putting on dresses all the time. So then they start to say, hey, the black man is not all that masculine. That's why they've been trying to project the black man's image. And then they put the black woman and they show her being masculine in movies. Or make her to be the big, loudmouth, crazy woman. My dear. Hey, and this is not a shot at Tyler Perry. I ain't mad at the man. You know what I mean? The issue is that they've been trying to say all kind of weird stuff about black people for a long time. In the medical system, they have written an article, and you should be able to find it, where it says that black people don't feel pain like everybody else, which means that they can try to have open heart surgery on you. You're not supposed to feel any pain. They can mistreat you any old kind of way because you don't feel no pain, implying that you're not human like everybody else. Well, we are beyond human. Your true self. But that's not the point. The point is that you're mistreated, and they say that you don't feel pain like anybody else. The police can knock you upside the head with a club and say they have to hit you extra hard because if they would have hit you as normal as they hit anybody else, you would have kept coming at them because you don't feel no pain. You ain't got no emotions. Okay? You don't feel sadness. That's how you portray it. That's how they portray black people, is not having any type of feeling and comic relief. You see what I mean? And this is why it's good for us to start connecting with the true aspect of who we are as God's people. The people of the ancestors, the Enteru, those who represent the primordial blackness, those who represent that which is melanated. Even in the Greek, God is known as Aphrodite, where you get the word, or it's connected to the word aphrodisiac, because of her beauty, right? Her attractiveness. One of her names was Malena, which means the black one. This is Aphrodite. You see what I mean? So the Greeks and everybody else used to acknowledge the beauty of African people and black people. And you see that we've been all over the planet. You also see that there's a lot of pyramids wherever our people are at and have been at. We built all kinds of structures you see, they always love to show us with the most common denominator, or should I say the most basic denominator, to make it look like we're a very basic people, and therefore everything we do is basic. How we think is basic. How we act is basic. They don't talk about Michael. They don't show you all the things that Michael Jai White can do. And there's a sister. She's a badass martial artist, and I can't think of her name right now. They don't show you her. You know what I mean? They could have her acting in a whole lot of movies. You know? But they always show us acting as the most basic, and we mimic that basic behavior. We build all these advanced civilizations. You look at the Yoruba traditions, and you see that their oracle system comes from a very advanced system. It's advanced. It's not something that's just, simple and basic. That's advanced mathematics and probability. And you get on the divination board, you can predict the future and the outcome of an event, and even change the possible outcome of the event. And he said the Yoruba people, they come from a being named Oduduwa. Some say that he was an ancestor. There's some who say that Oduduwa was a goddess, or is a goddess. But Oduduwa means the owner of the black womb, or the pot that shapes character. Oduduwa, Oduduiwa. Iwa is character, as well as your characteristics. So it talks about in the Yoruba tradition, when one is basically living according to their purpose, they are practicing Ewa Puele, which is good character. And they say that good character will always save you. Okay? But we've been taught not to have any character. No sense of honor. That was taken from you. We don't talk about honor. They always showing, whenever they talk about honor, that credit is given to, those of Asian descent. Like they show the Japanese having all this honor. Mm-hmm. But they make it seem like we ain't got no honor. We're just a bunch of backstabbers. What's that movie, Romeo Must Die?
Well, yeah.
Asian was talking about blacks have no honor. Turns around that he was backstabbing his own people himself.
The one with Jet Li. Yeah,
Jet Li.
Leah. Yeah.
So, but that's the thing, though. We have been stereotyped for having no honor. But hey, we used to say, hey man, don't let so and so punk you. Don't let no so and so disrespect you. That's a form of having honor for yourself, is standing up for yourself and not letting yourself be disrespected. Okay? But respect, it goes in so many directions. What about your neighborhood? Taking pride in how you carry yourself, right? Taking pride on how we deal with our sisters, and the sisters taking pride how they deal with us in a way that is healthy.
True that.
Okay? I'm going to tell you something about love. People ain't ready to hear about what love really is. Rhonda Framini's Metal Netter, Volume 1, he says that love is the act of giving and expecting nothing in return. Do we know what that is? Or was that taken out of us? Love is the act of giving and expecting nothing in return. Love is not transactional. Okay? But relationships are. And a lot of times when people get with each other, they're expecting something out of the other person. You understand? If you love somebody, I heard somebody say love is selfish. No, it's not. You're selfish.
Right.
Love is not selfish.
Selfless.
You see, it's selfless. That's why it's close to enlightenment, because that means you're willing to completely humiliate yourself for someone you have complete love for. You ain't ready to have that conversation.
Shit.
Tina Turner said, hey, go ahead. I don't care, cuss. Shit. Tina Turner said, what's love got to do with it? What's love but a second-hand emotion? Who needs a heart when a heart can be broken? Who needs a heart when a heart can be broken, right? Love. But wait a minute, hold on. Look at the comedic sign when Anui is going down the halls of Amenta, and there's the scales of Ma'at, and there's a feather, and there's a heart. The heart has to be in perfect alignment with the heart. It's got to be light as the feather. Because if the heart is too heavy, the person is denied their immortality, where their heart is thrown to Ammon, who consumes and eats their heart. So, what is love? We talk about black unity. We say we love our people. It starts with you loving yourself. You see what I mean? Now you have to draw. Here's the thing. There's also love for self. You have to have a balance. Okay? Because if you love yourself, if you love your people, then that means you're willing to tolerate certain things, understanding that we've been through what we've been through, but you have to have boundaries. Because then, if you let people run all over you, it defeats the purpose of what you're trying to do. So God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. So whoever shall believe in him shall not perish but have everlasting life. There's a metaphor behind that. Even though that's Christianity, it talks about the ultimate sacrifice. That's a look at the symbolism behind that, though. You know what I mean? So that means if you truly have love, you're willing to sacrifice for the person that you love, like a mother and her child. They showed a Virgin Mary holding the Christ. Us holding Haru, or Aset holding Haru. Yasoda holding Krishna. I believe it was that Semiramis, was she supposed to be holding baby Nimrod or something? Anyway.
Baby Nimrod.
Whatever.
Right. Yeah, that's used derogatorily, like you Nimrod.
Hey.
Well, it's like a gangster name.
Nimrod. But isn't Nimrod? But hold up, they said Nimrod was the son of Cush.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about how people say things and don't really know.
They have no clue, do they?
Right.
But I mean, all the black civilizations that you know about, or the great black civilizations in the Bible, have been demonized. In the King James Bible,
True that.
we talk about Egypt and everything else.
Right.
Nimrod was the son of Cush. And he challenged God. They say he was a mighty hunter before the Lord. They don't tell you exactly what he did. All they know is that somehow he was some mighty hunter who was arrogant. And next thing you know, they're talking about the Tower of Babel being built, and a whole bunch of people getting together can't understand each other.
Right.
Because Elohim mixed their languages up and confused their languages.
Mm-mm.
You know, the Kemetic, there's a Kemetic passage that says, but the Neter hates too much talking. The Neteru hate too much talking. And interesting enough, when you go into the study of story of the Anunnaki, of Samaria, right, Enki and Lil and all that, it says that the Anunnaki despised humans because they talked too much and made too much noise. That's what it said. But if you ever took some time to actually be quiet just for like a day and turn off all the noise and just be quiet and watch all the thoughts that start to come to you. We don't hear the voice of God. We don't hear the voice of Inter, Anu, all the room, because we're doing this all the time. We always got the TV. Or we gotta have the man. I can't be.
True that.
There's people that I just can't be with. You know, if you gotta make too much noise all the time, we can't be together. I know there's been times I've been around people that gotta have something on, playing all day, all night. They gotta have the TV on all day and all night. That means they have none of their thoughts of their own. They gotta have the radio. Sometimes you gotta
sleep too.
You know why they're asleep. And it's even worse because they're being programmed, because the subconscious mind has risen to the front in the conscious mind than left. So that they're being programmed, they're programming themselves based on the movies that's playing in the background while they're asleep. So nowadays, people got to have TV on and the radio at the same time. And then won't even sit still and watch one fucking thing. They got to flip the TV. They're watching two different shows at once. Like, they want to watch the news, they want to watch the football game, then they want to watch some movie. How are you processing anything? I've watched people do it. They got a short ass attention span too. I guess that's why TikTok is so popular these days, because it doesn't require a whole lot of concentration and paying attention. So people think in sound bites nowadays. Kind of like, hey, nowadays people don't like the bill. You just drop a quick jewel and then go on about your business. That's how people think, because people have a very short attention span. It was programmed into you by watching TV and then flashing scenes every so many seconds. That was talked about in a book called 5 Reasons to Eliminate Television, and how they'll mess people up in their ability to focus and concentrate, because what they'll do, every so many seconds, they'll flip from scene to scene, and your mind is not able to catch on to anything. And it programs you to be like that in the real world.
Listen, unless you got ADHD, you can watch 7 channels at the same time.
Shoot, you ain't processing that. How you gonna remember? You're missing somewhere. You're missing something.
Right.
Before the guy pulled out the gun, you done flipped it to the football game. So by the time you flip it back, the whole scene had passed. Now they're showing the funeral. You don't even.
Then you gotta flip back to the football, then you might miss the play though.
See?
Right.
You gotta sacrifice something. You try to grab onto too many things at once. That's the problem. Let go. Look. Wait for the rerun. Damn. You can watch that shit later. I be hating that shit. It'll be at somebody's house. I don't want to say nothing because it's not my house.
I'm like, look.
Like they want to watch freaking Transformers and then watch the news at the same time. Transformers and flip to the news. Like, man, you just messed up everything, man. I wanted to see Optimus Prime get his ass kicked by Megatron, and I'm missing that because you want to watch this. Of course, I've seen it before, but hey, it's like, okay, well, you might as well just stay on the news or so, because it's kind of like it's kind of like you're like with somebody and you're about to like have this peak experience, and next thing you know, that's cut short. You know what I mean? So that messes things up a little bit.
Indeed.
Right? So when we talk about blackness, we're talking about a state of peace. Before the light begin to shine forth, you go back into that darkness within yourself of infinite potential and give birth to the light of a thought. Because everything around you is the manifestation of a thought. For all is mind, the universe is mental.
I ain't never associated the word blackness with peace before in my life.
That's it. They don't want you to.
Right. Peace, what?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Shoot. They don't want to take you back there. It's the potential to be everything. Of course, it's dominant. But I'm gonna tell you something. If you're truly dominant, there's no need for you to really be warlike, because ain't nobody gonna mess with you. But the problem is that they don't consider you, or they act out of fear. But we're not really dominating right now in the world. Economically, we're not. Okay? Politically, we're not. Because we're not getting into these things. Why are we avoiding technology? Why not learn how to work the computer? Why not learn about robotics? Why let the world just pass you by? You see what I mean? Because they don't portray us doing these things. For a long time, we was thinking learning was, we associated that with being a nerd or something. Nobody wanted to be a nerd. And then we got nerds. Right? Right? You know, so people who had a brain.
I will. I'm cool.
Right? I mean, hey. They was confusing the nerd with the geek. You know. Those who go, that's how they identified people with that. Or Steve Urkel or something who had these high waters. Did I do that? They did that to us on purpose. They showed the black, you know, they show a black sitcom with a nerd named Steve Urkel with these high waters. His pants is pulled way up past his crotch, and he has these suspenders on. And he used to walk funny, but he'll come with all these inventions. But he was a geek, right? Did I do that? You know what I mean? So, in the back of our mind, we got people that know a bunch of stuff identify with shit like that. You see what I mean? They put that in your mind that to be smart is to be weak and geek.
Yeah, right.
Okay? Because they don't want you being smart.
Exactly.
They want you clowning your people and clowning yourself. They want you calling your brothers and sisters African booty scratchers.
Right.
That's what they used to call. Remember that?
In sixth grade. That's it.
Sixth grade?
Yeah, man.
You know what I'm saying?
I told you.
Had your homie call you an African booty scratcher.
Yeah, I remember that.
You remember that?
Yeah.
That was like a favorite word of mine.
You know what I mean?
That's everybody.
Where the hell did that come from? Like,
Then I come to find out.
It was on Boys in the Hood when he was in the class with.
No, that's
And-
way.
and-
I'm talking about growing up with that. Like,
Boys in the Hood.
And
What you
then
about?
boy in the school was like, "You African, whatever," and he said,
No,
he told me that
I was
again
like-
and beat him up. Or
No,
whatever.
no, that's way before that.
Yeah.
That was like
That was-
8 saying that.
Yeah, man. We
Yeah.
said that in like sixth grade. When I was in sixth grade, man.
Then
At
it came
my
out.
school.
You know what I mean? We had the coldest jack. I have to tell this. I have to tell my Eritrean sister because I guess they called her one when she was young. And I was like, hold up, man. We was called. I'm like, don't feel bad. We used to call each other that. Didn't even know what that meant.
Yeah, true that.
We just had the most messed up ideas about what it meant to be
There
African.
wasn't no African people at my school. Everybody was calling each other African booty scratchers.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a trend or something.
But look at how they betrayed African
Right.
people. You know what I mean?
Right. That's what.
I remember when I was watching, it was like a documentary, right? And they're showing everybody else had on these clothes, right? They were showing all these other civilizations, all these other ethnic groups. Everybody else had like colorful clothes, right? And of all the African groups, you know, they picked the Maasai. And I mean, they're beautiful people, okay? But I noticed that they picked the group of Africans that wore the least amount of clothes. So she's holding the child boo-booed on her, and she scooped the boo-boo off. And I'm like, hold up, wait a minute. I have to say something. Because nobody else in the classroom said anything. And I said, okay, well, for y'all ain't gonna say nothing, I will.
Right.
How come of all these other ethnicities, you show the group of Africans that don't have clothes and just have mud huts? As if that's all that's in Africa. And I'm not demonizing or condemning that, but I noticed you didn't show no nudist beaches in Europe, or people, you know, there are people that walk around naked in other places, but for some reason you put the emphasis on Africa, which is a huge continent. You showed everybody else wearing clothes. And then your excuse, oh, it's too hot in Africa. Yeah, well, okay, there's places they did not wear clothes, but they did have places where they were decked out and fashionable in some areas too.
Right.
You know what I mean? You know, but you always show, and then there's something else they show us too. Flies all in her face and flies all in the little boy's face.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? They didn't show that shit with nobody else.
Right.
Documentary.
Yeah.
They do that all the time.
And I have to point that out. I was in Iraq and there was flies all over people's face there when I was there. But they don't show that with nobody else. You know, and for a long time, they would show Ethiopians, come to find out that those were like hella old, 700 Club used to love showing those depictions of Ethiopians,
Forever.
pot belly,
The same one.
Yeah.
you know. Yeah, racist ass 700 Club that your grandma used
Send
to
us
send
all your money.
Sunday morning.
right?
Send us all your money.
And remember, there was a time I remember it was like Pat Robinson with his funny looking ass. Looked like I don't know, I always thought he was just a big eared, funny looking dude. You know, he would always be asking people to send money. He said something, I'm never gonna forget this. They went to the Sudan. They showed them going to the Sudan. These brothers are melanated like midnight. And tall, Sudanese brothers in an area where these were richly melanated Africans. Super black Africans. They showed a blonde-haired, blue-eyed Jesus. He looked like Casper the Friendly Ghost among these Africans that's around him. And they're worshiping the Jesus in the 700 Club, talking about how they're spreading Christianity in Africa. But then when they went to India, they said that, oh, well, the people of India have too much nationalism among them, so we had to give them an Indian depiction of Jesus. And guess what? They gave them a Jesus that looked like them because they weren't tolerating that. But you see, they were taking advantage of Africans who were starving and needed resources because they had already ruined the economy and cut them off economically. You see what I mean? And I'm going to tell you something. Around the 60s, when all those West African countries gained their independence, what they would do is that before the Europeans, like the British, would leave, they would ruin the economy. Sometimes they would pour cement all into the sewer system, into the pipes, mess up the infrastructure. And like, oh, okay, well, if we can't see her, we're just gonna mess the economy up and
Super wicked.
mess up and destroy your infrastructure. So now they're trying to repair their infrastructure years later. You know what I mean?
Getting loans from the economic bank with big interest rates because they already set them up to fail.
Exactly.
Just keep them poor the whole time.
Nigeria.
Scandalous. What?
Nigeria, they got hella oil. But they got to for a long, they was taking their crude oil and selling their crude oil to Britain, who would refine it and sell it back to them. Or in Ghana, they had places they would not allow the indigenous Africans to touch their own artichokes. They had to get them canned and sold back to them. It's colonization. You see what I mean?
You gotta take that shit by force and stop whining about that shit.
Then they show you on TV. They show them on TV. Fighting over resources and say, look at these people are savages. They can't even get along. But you see, the Europeans created a whole bunch of artificial boundaries and borders that did not exist there before maybe a couple of hundred years ago. And sometimes they'll put these borders and boundaries right down the middle of an ethnic group and create two tribes, and then deny one or cut the resources off from one and cause a war between those people, which are actually one people.
Like Korea.
Yeah, divide and conquer. And you know who taught them how to do that? The Arabs. Arabs taught the Portuguese how to divide us up and conquer us, because they had been using those tactics on us. Okay? So we just have to put things into focus. What does it mean to be black? What does it mean to be African? We want to argue about so many stupid things because any reason not to get on the same page. Well, I don't want to call it Africa because Africa comes from Scipio Africanus.
This is a distraction, huh?
Yeah, it's a distraction.
Yeah.
Okay, well, hey, Al-Kibalan. Oh, well, we don't want to call it Al-Kibalan. We can't prove where Dr. Ben got Al-Kibalan from, so, okay, well, look, can we get on the same page some kind of way? Yeah, well, we could just make up a name right now. Dude, let's just get on the same page. Okay? In fact, there's evidence that said that Africanus was named after the continent. Because Africa was not from Rome, but it was actually from a place in Libya, meaning place of birth. It's possible. But I know a Kemetic way of saying Africa is Afrika, which is actually the Kemetic word meaning the flesh and the spirit of Ra. Africa. So, we don't have to have reasons for division. I've also heard people say Africa is connected to the word Al-Faruqa, which means to divide it. Well, we don't have to allow that to creep in and divide us up all the time. You know what I mean? You know, if we knew history, we wouldn't have the attitude that we have about people in the Caribbean, because we know a lot of us are descendants of the Caribbeans. A lot of them were brought from Africa. Now they're over here practicing Haitian voodoo and got some of the same deities in West Africa and don't even know that they're connected. Who did this to them? Which means that they're descendants of people who are fine in airway.
Oh shit.
You know, you can Dambala, that's an African deity, that's Dan. Legba, it's an African deity. And then I hear people try to say, oh, well, the slave trade was the reverse. And those African deities started off being American ones. And they brought the Orishas from over here to over there. Stop the bullshit.
That's yeah.
I was over here first in North America. Huh?
You know, just stop. Okay? We're the slave castles in Brazil and the slave castles in America, on the shores of America that took us to Africa.
Right.
You see, we start making up stuff because we've been so mixed up. We've had CIA members confuse us.
Sure.
They don't want you connecting to those resources in Africa. They don't want you gaining allegiance to anybody outside the United States. They don't even want you having allegiance to your own family. They keep you fighting and keep you being suspicious of one another. Okay?
Sure.
You know? And I don't know. I just don't think it's in any Caucasian's place to come and tell black people how we should act with one another when it comes to our gender issues that they have created.
Mm.
Yeah,
Okay?
Sure.
I just don't think it's their place. Okay? So we need to keep it real with ourselves. Why do we allow so many other people to have input about our shit? Nobody allows us to have input on their shit, but they can come in and instigate and pick sides. That's what they do. You know, I notice when I'm looking at a lot of black channels on YouTube, you always see a bunch of like white supremacist instigators in the comment section.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see us joining there. You don't see us going on their shit, putting a bunch of our opinions in their comment sections about their people. You know what I mean?
They always instigate shit, talking shit first, attacking.
And sometimes those be bots and trolls and people who have false accounts, acting like they're one of y'all people, one of us, talking shit to us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I bet you dollars and donuts you have Europeans going and pretending to be black and say disrespectful things to sisters and disrespectful things to brothers and make it seem like the sisters are saying it. You know, we have a lot of people that want to instigate us and keep us fighting.
Mm-hmm.
And they love to see that. I remember when I was in the military and I got into it with a brother, and all the white dudes kept on saying, "So you're gonna fight the brother? You're gonna fight Biden?" You know, I'm not gonna say his name, but they say, "So when you guys gonna get together and fight, man? You should knock him out." Like, I should knock you out. Get out of my face.
Right.
Why you instigating this shit? Why are you so hell bent on seeing a Mandingo fight? You know, so we got to take better care of our image. Because if you don't respect your image, people ain't going to respect you. Simple as that. Your image means something. You don't think your image means something to your child? You don't think your image means nothing to your grandchildren, to your nieces and nephews? If they always see you losing, then they're not going to respect you. Why should they listen to you? You're losing all the time. How can you help them win? If they always see you taking L's and you proud of it.
Right. You ain't doing nothing to avoid it.
No. You gotta think. Stop playing. Stop shooting marbles when these people are playing chess. Learn how to play chess. Learn how to play strategy. You know, if you're gonna read books like 40 Keys of Power and Sun Tzu's Art of War, stop using it on each other and use it on the establishment. You know what I mean? Y'all use that shit on the wrong people. You go and use that on your on your community and on your families and on the people close to you. Because in truth, you know, it goes back to that concept of love. You're always talking about how you're proud to be black. Are you? Because You can't say you're proud to be black and then turn around and call your brother who's richly melanated crispy. Say that, you know what I mean? Or your sister that's richly melanated crispy. I'm serious. I heard folks
that's
talking
messed
about
up.
how they black, and then a few conversations later, they're talking shit about darker skinned people, as if that's not, as if somehow,
Exactly.
you know, but they're about like butterscotch complected, talk about they black and making fun of darker skinned people. And then the flip side, when you got our lighter skinned sisters and brothers who don't feel accepted. I'll tell you something. You gotta pay attention to these things, okay? Gotta pay attention because colorism and everything else. Willie Lynch, whether you believe that Willie Lynch was historical or not, the methodologies of Willie Lynch is widely practiced. And by the way, where did eugenics come from? It didn't come from Germany, it came from here. And Hitler thought that, well, they were doing such a great job in America that he wanted to apply eugenics to what they were doing over there. The Caucasians over here were going nuts, thinking that black men wanted to steal all their women. Because that's what they were trying to do with our women. They thought we wanted to do the same thing. So a lot of us wanted to stick within our own, but they don't tell you that. They make it seem like we don't like ourselves. That all of us just want to mix up and that's it. You know what I mean? So self-love is important. You see what I mean? Black is still beautiful in 2023. It's beautiful. It's beautiful to be black. You know, and I'm using that in the form of being a description, describing us as a collective group. We don't have to go to court and say, okay, hey, you don't have to go to court and say I'm Negro, black, and colored if you don't want to. Okay? That's not what we're talking about. More means black anyway. It's just another word of saying more without putting, you know, more is the people who are dark complected. That's all it is. That's all that is. But unfortunately, there's a lot of self-hate around that too. Brothers identify with they identify with the pale Arabs. Notice how I made a distinction. I said the pale Arabs. You have to slave your ancestors. So, I mean, we can't decide on whether the Prophet Muhammad was a black man or a white dude with rosy cheeks in the desert, because that's how it's described in one of the hadiths in Islam. Look it up. What did Dr. York say? Don't believe me? Check it out. I'm just saying. Just look it up. It's around. The information's out there. There's no excuse for people not having knowledge. There really isn't. If you want it, then you gotta get off your, 4-point contact and go and study. You don't even have to go to the library. You can just look the shit up on your phone nowadays. Really. Do the work. It's easier to get now information, anything, but you have to use your head and cross-reference. You know, somebody comes up to you saying, hey man, I think the world is flat because water only sees its own level. What the hell does that mean? So now, somebody told you that the earth is flat, now it sounds deep to you because nobody else said it before. Oh, that's deep. Man, can you go investigate, dude? Oh, well, somebody told me that, wow, that was deep. Somebody told me that the slave trade was in reverse. I never thought about that. Dude, you don't think
How's
about
it in reverse?
You know? Oh, somebody would say that the slave trade was a straight up myth and that it never happened.
Where's the ships at? They can't find the ships, they say.
Yeah, well, there was a ship in Virginia and they got rid of it. And yeah, they took a lot of, first of all, those were cargo ships because the so-called captured Africans were cargo. They reconverted them back into cargo ships. They act like wooden ships are going to last for over 200 years anyway.
Right.
People, people be talking some really stupid shit.
I know. Where's the ships at?
Not only that, and they
You know what I
also
mean?
would repurpose them because they were using to build cabins because that's the only lumber they had.
There you go.
So they would break the ships down because they weren't going anywhere. They came here, they stayed.
Indeed.
They
Indeed.
repurposed the ship as lumber.
You know, they didn't have the need for slave cargo after the abolishment of the transatlantic slave trade, which actually happened. Okay,
The middle passage, dog.
you know,
Trying to disconnect from the ancestors in the middle passage, act like none of that happened.
right, and it did. There's Africans all up in Africa. They'll be lying, talk about Africans don't remember that. Yes, they do. There's Africans that talk about that. The hell are you talking about? There's a place you go in Ghana where they'll take you on a tour to see the slave castle. Don't listen to these dummies,
Shut up.
because they'll have you messed up. I don't care what type of Rosicrucian literature they done copied and plagiarized and got you reading. Because I know where a lot of their literature comes from. It's plagiarized. And took Madame Blavatsky's shit and colored her black and shit. It's like, we take things that don't, we do our own versions of plagiarizing. We say the white folks do it. Here we are doing it. You go to the Theosophical bookstore and take white stuff that comes from India and Hinduism and paint it all black. Now, we could say that they took our stuff, but you see, the problem is we're taking the stuff that was reformatted and we're painting that black. We're not investigating. We're plagiarizing the plagiarizer instead of dealing with original source material. I hear people say that Egypt is here. Here's my challenge. Show me in the Nahuatl Mayan language where there is the word Kemet or Egypt. Show me. I don't want to hear it, I want to see it. Don't tell me what somebody told you. Show me. The hell? Yeah, well, how do you know that? Well, I was around a bunch of brothers and they told me this. What did they show you? Oh, they showed me the pictures and everything else. What about the dates? You can make anything up with AI. Nowadays, can I see some dates? And let me see the original depiction of the tablets that shit was supposed to have come from. Oh, we got pictures of black people on the walls of America. Put it in context. Yes, there were dark people in America, obviously. Does that eliminate the slave trade? See, here's the thing. It's not one or the other.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You act like nobody built boats. But they just walked across the whole Pangea. Bro, you know the Pangea, according to science, millions of years ago. Continental drift theory. You don't think your ancestors built boats? Even the Aborigines in Australia, they got rock paintings with boats on them. Somebody knew how to build some boats. I'm just saying. Here's another one of my favorites. Oh, did you about the Egyptian temples in the Grand Canyon? Can somebody show me something? Because every time I look that shit up on YouTube, I see a hodgepodge of things that look like, I see more Buddhist stuff. I saw a picture of a Buddha. I'm like, that doesn't look Egyptian. That looks like Buddha. They said they found a bunch of Egyptian stuff in a temple in the Grand Canyon. So then when I looked it up on YouTube, now I looked it up other places, I saw a statue of the Buddha. I didn't see a statue of Ramses. I didn't see a statue of Thutmose. Now they said that there were mummies on the walls. Okay. But how come they didn't show any pictures of no Medu Neter carved into the walls? See, these are the type of questions I ask. I want to see it. Just tell me anything, just to sound deep. Okay? Because I'm going to ask those questions. The Egyptians had a writing system called Medu Neter that they carved into the walls. They had papyri. I want to see some papyri. Don't just show me a bunch of broken up pots with no hieroglyphics on them. Because I'm gonna start doubting.
True, man.
You know what I mean? I wanna see it. I wanna see some temples. I wanna see some walls. I don't wanna see no Photoshop or where they done took a picture from Karnak and then superimpose that on the Grand Canyon.
Trying to get the enlightened people to disconnect from Kemet in Egypt.
Yeah, I'm trying to say it
That's
was
the whole
over
point.
here instead.
Yeah, so disrespect in their mind.
Yeah.
Disrespect it, huh?
But they play games on people that don't have any type of critical thought.
Lower life forms.
You know, I just want to know when the people go show and prove. That's all.
Alright.
Because you don't impress me just by kicking a bunch of facts that sound deep. That shit doesn't impress me.
Mhm.
Oh, we could take it all the way back to hydrogen atom and talk about the ancient gas that eventually solidified into solid forms. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, I can do that. What's that, brother? Professor Onyenbo, who talked about the hydrogen and all going back to hydrogen. It's really cool stuff. It's called the theory of everything. He came up with a theory of everything and won a prize and didn't get recognized in America. But Dr. Gabriel, Professor Onyenbo, he learned about this theory of everything by connecting with the Yoruba tradition of Ifa. And I talked to one of his students, and he was talking about how the Yoruba has the names for Amun or Amun and Ma'at all up in the language over there.
Oh, shit.
That's why I want people to look it up and study, see for themselves. Because we don't really have the pride we claim to have, because if we did, we wouldn't be fighting and arguing over dumb shit. You ain't got no damn proof of things, but we're trying to hold other people to believe and think how we think.
That's ridiculous.
It is. It is. You know what I mean? Get a little bit, show me. Okay? I want to see stuff, too. Of course, we go into spiritual meditation. You can speculate and say that the spirits taught you, but you're trying to get people in academic research to claim that they're this and that. Okay? We're some of everything. Okay, of course, you're the original people on the planet. Of course, you've been everywhere. What about the Mabuti people or the Twa people? Derogatorily called pygmies. They were called the leprechauns because they were getting all that gold out of Africa. Look at some of the literature of Albert Churchward. Just look up Albert Churchward and talk about his take on the pygmies. And they talk about their bones being found all over the planet. All right? So, we talk about blackness. What it means to be black. Well, first of all, this is the term we're using for black. Of course, it's a European word. It contains the word lack. And white contains the word height. I get it. But one of the biggest issues that we have, yes, we do cast spells on ourselves with the words that we use a lot. But there's also a lot of pettiness that we've learned to have taken on. Because a lot of it's not coming from a genuine place. We act like it's a knowledge rap battle all the time. Oh, I got much knowledge. Let's see who's got the knowledge. Let's drop the bomb. Pass the mic. Oh, yo. Oh, you blasted it. Really? Battle of scholars, huh? Then we all got new type of academic research behind your back, behind your belt.
Shaka most first the Hebrew, Cesariac, the Hebrew, whatever, Slayer killer.
Shoot.
Right. Going head up over and over and over.
Yeah. You know, it's like, I say, if you go research, quote some original sources. I don't want to hear you quote Thoth the Atlantean. You know why? Because that shit has no original source material.
What was Star Hip Hop or something like that?
You know?
They come with some facts.
You know, check this out. I've seen people in these communities quote Doriel's Thoth the Atlantean. There is no original source material to Thoth the Atlantean. And guess what it says? It says that when Thoth first came to North Africa, he saw a bunch of savages.
Yeah.
He had to civilized them.
Right.
But check this out. There's no source material to thought the Atlantean because it's made up shit. And if it's not, prove me wrong.
Right.
Because a lot of our Moorish brothers and sisters read that.
I never liked it.
Because it's made up bullshit. You can buy it for about, what, $9 or download it as a PDF.
I read that part and I put it down.
You know? He shot a laser at the savages and I guess they were supposed to have stopped them in their tracks. Because you know they're trying to imply that Thoth was a white guy from Atlantis. That's what they're trying to imply. Doriel talking about he found it in a Mexican pyramid somewhere. Where is it? Where's the source material? Where's the 12 emerald there is an emerald tablet, okay? But that emerald tablet was found in a mummy in Egypt. But there's actually depictions, you can find it online what that emerald tablet looked like. Not with Doriel's bullshit you won't. Or you just don't read it. And then it tells you to read it with an open mind. Yeah, well, you study Hermetic literature because obviously you got a lot of stuff from Hermetic literature. But I can't see where you can prove that that's some stuff that came from any of the 12 tablets. Where are the 12 tablets at? How come nobody's been able to find them? I've not run across anybody who says that they ran and actually read the original 12 tablets or how many tablets it's supposed to have. And 4 more is supposed to be revealed later. Where is it at? You know? Because some Egyptologists went to the place, I guess, where Doriel was. They wouldn't even let them they wouldn't even answer them. Because they ain't got no 12 emerald tablets. That's why.
For sure.
So stop falling for bullshit. Because they have you all messed up.
For sure.
I heard David Icke quote them from Doriel's shit. So, you know, you want to keep on playing with bullshit, then you're going to keep on getting more bullshit. It's a shame how much we don't really research. We just read, and whatever feels good, we just go ahead and accept it, you know? Knowing that you got it from white folks and you want to talk like it's part of your identity now. You see what I mean? Anyway, sisters and brothers, as far as I'm concerned, however you want to classify yourself, it's an honor to be who I am. I'm honored. Okay? I'm not going to sit around and play with people who want to argue about how I should define myself. But I know that my ancestors are the original people.
That's right.
And we done traveled all over the world. But I practice an African form of spirituality. I know I got Native American ancestry too. I ain't going to sit up here and argue with that. But I ain't got to deny one thing and pump up something else and act like, and arrogantly say that something didn't exist when evidence is all around you that it did. All right? So with that, I'm out. Hotep, Uncle Chanel.
Scenario.
Oh, starving.